I wanted to get out of the way a full swing at full speed because I haven't done that yet. So let's just do that. This is a rotational swing. Here's it down the line. Here's an arm swing. Okay, one of the things I wanted to talk about is some of the issues involved here with having a situation where you have the majority of amateur baseball swinging the bat one way with their arms like this in a punching manner, and then this exclusive club of major league hitters that all hit with a skip swing, all hit here. I was watching Moneyball the other day, and I got to think about the whole Billy Beane phenomenon. And for those of you who don't know, Billy Beane was a guy who was drafted in the first round, had a scholarship to Stanford University, which smart guys go there, and he completely fizzled out. Okay, he had I looked at his statistics after I watched that show, and he had 300 at-bats. He struck out like 80 times. He struck out 8 times for every time he walked. To compare, Lou Gehrig walked twice for every time he struck out. Okay, Billy Beane struck out like 3.7, one time every 3.75 ABs. In comparison, Lou Gehrig struck out once every 10 to 11 bats. Barry Bonds struck out once every like 6.5 at bats. So he struck out a lot. He didn't get a whole lot of walks. And I think the frustration that he portrays in the movie, was probably obvious. I mean, he struck out all the time. So I wanted to talk about that a little bit. It's my contention because to explain this phenomenon, the guy's a great athlete. He's drafted in the first round. Okay, I'm assuming that his optometrist did their job and he had good vision. I'm assuming that he wasn't afraid of the ball, because at my level, that's actually an issue. It's hard to teach a kid to hit if he gets up there and he's petrified of the ball. He's just not going to perform. So I really don't think that could possibly be an issue. So what is the issue? And it's my contention that Billy Beane must have been an arms hitter. To kind of ferret this out, each successive level of baseball, starting at Little League, going into high school, college, professional ranks, they all act as like a filtration net, okay? And if you are a rotational hitter, you are much more likely to get on through that net. Now, that's not to say that an arms hitter at the high school level cannot outperform a rotational hitter. I've seen this. I was a very high performing arms hitter at the high school level, and it's very possible. Okay, it's just that there's going to become a time where the arms hitting fails. Okay, you can have a dude that hits 500 in high school and with 15 home runs, and he goes on to college, and all of a sudden he's hitting 200 and he's got 1 home run. So what I call this phenomenon is the cliff. Okay, you go over the cliff, and what the cliff is there becomes a point, and it's different for all people, and a lot of it has to do with your athleticism, your intelligence, but at some point your ability to track that ball as the speed of that ball coming in is gradually increasing from one level to another, and your ability to track off-speed pitches as off-speed pitches get better and better as you move up. At some point, you come to a cliff where you can't do it anymore. Your mind, you cannot. If you're an arms hitter and you're moving laterally to hit the ball, your brain's tracking that ball and also moving. Your head is also moving. You hit a cliff, okay, and the whole thing the wheels fall off the bus, and it doesn't work. Now, rotational hitters, skippers, don't have that. That's the biggest distinction that I noticed between the two swings is that you see the ball so much better. Okay? Now, there's also another phenomenon at work here, and I think I should talk about. As an arms hitter, okay, like I said, you can be successful, and this success comes at a price, and it convinces you that you don't need to change. Okay, you went 4 for 5 back, when you were a sophomore, and you hit 3 home runs that day, and had 10 RBIs, and nobody's going to convince you that what you're doing is wrong. You know that what you're doing, what your coach is trying to teach you, is not what you did that particular day. So, that could conceivably be a factor. I've noticed trying to teach kids, I'm going, whoa, you're halfway to the Oregon coast. You're walking every second at bat. You're walking your poodle. You're halfway to the Oregon coast, and because this dude hit 2 home runs in a game 3 years ago, he's not going to listen to a word I say. So there's that aspect of it. There's also an aspect of it where the hitter basically, he might be new to the game, and it doesn't feel right. Okay, the kid's never hit the ball out of the infield. All right, so I asked him, well, how the hell do you know it feels right? You've never hit the ball out of the infield. So there's it doesn't feel right, and it wasn't what I was doing back in Little League or back 2 years ago when I was hitting off a guy throwing 70 miles an hour that didn't have a curveball, and I went 4 for 5. So this is a phenomenon. It's my contention that I don't have a video of Billy Beane hitting. I really wish I did, because I could analyze it and see for sure if my contention is correct. But I don't have any other explanation for why a guy with such good tools, such a great athlete, such an intelligent person could fail, when there's obviously guys that didn't have the tools that he had that succeeded, multiple times better than he did. So it's an interesting phenomenon. I'd also like to stress that the rotational swing or the skip, as you can imagine, it's a completely and utterly different move.